Oh hey there, you've just caught me talking into a microphone while recording myself. I'm doing the final touches to the script for this legendary GitHub Actions deep dive. In fact, you're watching it right now, so... Here at Camp Bede, we've been somewhat a nomadic people lately when it comes to our build process, which is no small feat with 80 odd microservices on board. We've travelled from the ruins of an outdated TeamCity, past the terrifying Keep of Compliance, trudged through the swampy plains of Codefresh, and can currently see the glimmer of the fabled citadel of GitHub Actions up ahead. A few of our scout wagons have already reached it, reporting of the health and happiness found within.
But what other news do they bring, Master? Perhaps how to pass the guard.
I'm sorry, I can't keep that up. Perhaps how to pass the guards, charm the townsfolk, or avoid looking silly ordering, a beer please, at the local inn. Well, don't worry, because the Dev Digest has you covered. We'll have you looking like you belong in a Minas Tirith tavern in no time. In a metaphorical way. This metaphor. It's very specific. But what actually are you at all talking about, I hear you crying? If you've not heard of GitHub Actions, or indeed build processes, it's basically how the code we write gets turned into something a server, in our case on Azure, can run as the services that comprise the platform. It builds something that makes sense to a computer from the thing that makes sense to at least some of the humans. There are lots of ways of doing it, but it really helps if we all use the same way for the sake of our collective sanity. We originally used something called TeamCity, but it's become a bit creaky over the years and we wanted everyone to get experience on modern build processes. So, having moved about a bit, we've settled on GitHub Actions as the way forward, as it's a good one and links nicely into a lot of the tooling we already use. What's extra nice is that we put one new file into services code, and that describes how the build should happen. We run tests, we set version numbers, and we send the final result to the thing that lets us release to clients, Octopus Deploy. This file is basically the same across all services, with some very minor tweaks for each, so a standard service becomes pretty speedy to migrate. Now, we're about to drop into some more technical details on this for a moment as a taster of what the discovery process has been like, and as a quick reference if you end up doing one of these yourself. So if you think you'll find that boring, try to imagine in your head that it's not boring and it's actually really brilliant. I will now attempt the any % world record speedrun of common gotchas that we've discovered. These apply to pretty much any project that you're doing in GitHub Actions, not just at Bede. Okay, first thing to check when you're copying and pasting the workflow file to a new place is that you're pointing to the correct project. Most of our API services are called bede.nameofservice.api, but some of them are called bede.nameofservice.host. And if you copy the workflow from another repository, then you're in for some spot the difference fun and games later. So check this before doing anything else. Have you ensured that your settings transformation step is converting the correct settings? Some services might have a use local database setting that's intended for supplying a direct connection string so that tests can be run, for example, in a GitHub Actions workflow, without going off to a configuration source. Make sure you're replacing all of these by having a handy wee double check in the config files. Have you ensured the connection string has trust server certificate equals true in it, if it's .NET 8 and above? That's a thing. If you're getting test host crashed on the step that runs the tests, you may want to confirm that the connection string is being transformed correctly, as this is the most common cause we've found. It's also possible that appsettings.json isn't called that, just for a laugh. Finally, if you get stumped by the logs and need to see what it's really doing at any point, you can use this handy step called Teammate from the complete lad that is Max Schmidt at Microsoft. This will pause the build until you remote into the session terminal, and even provides a web link to do so easily. From here you can check it's got the right projects, check it's transformed the settings, and all that good stuff. Quit the terminal and the build will proceed. Neat. And stop. So that is the world record, because nobody's written those words down before and then said them. So anyway, that's just a brief overview of what we found on our way, but we'll link to a more extensive list next to this video. So there it was, our deep dive-ish into GitHub Actions. I hope it was vaguely informative and that you'll join us for the next one. Thanks for watching.